What's up, everybody? What's up, and welcome to the Hybrid Radio podcast on hybridradio.net. Actually, mjhybridradio.net. I'm happy to be back after a long break, and I'm sure from hearing all the enthusiasm from the crowd, you guys are thrilled to have us back too. Sorry, gotta get a little phlegm out of my throat. All right, ready to take this show on the road. All right, you guys can calm down a little bit. Calm down. Thank you. Like I said, welcome to the Hybrid Radio podcast. I am Jarrell, your host for the evening, and with me is my co-host with the most, babe, as Beetlejuice would say. Give it up for Drew, everybody.
Yeah. Co-host with the most venereal diseases, I think is the...
That could work. Just ladies, he's not single, unfortunately, so you cannot get his horrible bacteria in your system. And on this show, if it's your first time hearing our show, this is what we do. We sit back, have some beers, this time some ones that are actually good from the good friends over at Yingling. We are having some Yinglings, and I feel a little bit better because I'm kind of like, this week I've been kind of sick, but then I got better, and then I ended up being on only like 3 hours of sleep last night. So
hold up a second. You're telling me that you haven't been feeling well, so you haven't been drinking the rum?
Yeah.
You did that backwards.
I did it backwards, yeah.
You don't feel well, and then you drink the rum, and then you feel amazing.
What's funny is I've always thought that whiskey is what makes you feel better, so I was staying clear of the sugary rum.
It's all of it.
It doesn't matter?
No,
okay.
It's all of it. No, whiskey's great. Rum is also, just as long as it's hard liquor.
Okay.
And you know what? Then you take a couple of days off from work because you're not feeling well, and then you start drinking the rum, and next thing you know, you're homeless and you don't know where you got there, and you're about to suck off a stranger for money.
How did this happen? How did I get here? All right, this is how the show works. After we get our whole sexual conversation out the way, we're going to be reviewing some albums, 3 exactly. The latest one from Kesha. Finally, we're going to get that. Also, brand new, finally, after an 8-year break, I put out a new album. We're going to review that one as well. And for all you, I guess, political people out there, all the people who want to hear some, politics in your music, we got the latest
Which is
from...
nobody, according to Facebook.
Yeah. We got the new Prophets of Rage. They released their debut album. So we're going to review that as well, supergroup Prophets of Rage. That's basically all I can say to really hype them up. But it's got that going also. Since I haven't seen Drew in a long time, I think he's going to give us a review of a concert he went to. Or he went to several concerts this month, right?
Which one, though?
Why don't you pick the one that you thought was the best you want to talk about? Or you can talk about them all, and we'll just end up taking the best one and making a video for that so you can see our lovely puppet faces. And also, I'm going to try a new segment out today of reviewing TV shows. So
oh, dear.
I'm going to review a show that I've been watching on Netflix, a season I completed. And if it goes really well, maybe me and you, we can review more shows.
Fuller House. It's Fuller House, right? I'm
going to do that next time, not this time, though. But Fuller House, I have to catch up on. But I'll be a surprise for you guys today. I'm going to be reviewing a different show that's on Netflix that I got to watch. And, so we got a lot of things to talk about. So we might have a long show. So sit back, get comfy. I'm going to do the same and take a swig of some of this, some lager. And I've got some food here, but I'm going to be courteous of you guys and not chew on the mic. Today I'm eating some Vietnamese egg rolls.
I'm gonna chew on the mic.
Would you like
this mic tastes terrible.
Would you like something actually edible instead? Would you like to try one?
I'm good. Okay.
So, how was your? I guess your whole month. We got Labor Day came and went. Labor Day was good. That's so far back, I know, but
is Labor Day ever good? I feel like you take Labor Day off and then it's just
worrying about the next day at work.
Worrying about the next day at work,
yeah.
And then where I work, you got to wake up early to make up for the work that you missed the day before. You got to come in early.
That's bullshit, man.
Yeah.
That's not really a holiday at all for you. What is it? What was it like for Christmas? You have to work all night when you come back. Okay, when you come back from New Year's, you're working 24 hours straight.
I hate holidays. I would just prefer to work through them and then give me an extra day that I can take off at a later date when I'm not needed.
Yeah, but you guys out there know Drew is into if you heard our previous podcast, he's into metal and also like horror films. So one holiday I know you like is coming up this month or next month, I should say. It's still September, but at least you like that, right? You got Halloween coming up, so I'm excited to do some shows with you then.
But it's all Halloween is on, what is it, like a Tuesday?
Yeah.
What the fuck is the point of Halloween then?
Yeah. So they should just skip it until it falls back on the weekend again.
Yeah. I'm not celebrating Halloween until it's back on a reasonable day.
Yeah. I'm actually thinking everyone does the Saturday thing now. So if it's like in the middle of the week, they do like a Saturday party or whatever like that.
Last year I actually took Halloween off because it was like a Monday or something, and I was just by myself because everybody else was at work.
So perfect, you know.
There's no point.
Yeah, that's the perfect vacation right there. Other things going on this month. I think we got the whole Trump versus NFL
everybody.
going on. Yeah.
Trump versus Puerto Rico apparently.
Yeah. But I don't really think we can. I think me and Drew have the same outlook on this whole I guess protesting thing and how he's getting involved in that more than what was happening in Charlottesville. Charlottesville, sorry. So it's like, whatever. We're not going to really go down that road too much until we get to the Prophet of Rage review. Then we can talk more politics again. Hugh Hefner's dead. That's kind of sad because I had on my bucket list, at least to go to the Playboy Mansion when he's alive. So fuck that up.
You should have made friends with Fred Durst. He would have done this show too.
Yeah, he probably would be on the podcast. He's like, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
I kept saying I'll do it later. I'll go next time when he kept sending the invitation in the mail, but next time I guess will never happen.
It's not sad that he died though.
It's not. You didn't masturbate to him?
He was a beautiful man, and I did masturbate to him. His jowly face and his long nose, and he looked like Father Christmas. Yeah, it was very sexy to me.
The whole joke going around I see is that now he's dead. He's like he was in heaven, and now he's actually worse off now.
But that's exactly why it's not sad. If I could be 91 years old and die in silk pajamas that I've worn for 60 years, surrounded by a bunch of women that are just interested in fucking me because of who I am and what I have.
Yeah, even if you could fuck them.
Yeah. You know what? That's fine.
Yeah.
You live in a mansion that people want to visit, like it's a fucking museum,
yeah.
And you live to be 90.
You got to be on The Simpsons once.
And you did.
Yeah. So he peaked in 1993. And it's like I've made it already. So everything else was just a victory lap.
I'm not going to be dying in silk pajamas surrounded by women in a mansion. I'm going to be dying in a hotel room surrounded by methamphetamines
and a belt on your neck.
Exactly.
It worked for Chris Cornell.
I'm not going out like Hugh Hefner. I'm going out like David Carradine.
Yeah.
Just jerking it in Thailand.
Yeah.
In a closet.
Both of them died happy, I guess. Jesus.
Anyway.
Yeah. And finally, going on with my month, I think besides catching a brief cold, I took the wife, not the girlfriend.
I still do that too.
I took my current wife. I'm
gonna be saying, girl. It'll be like 10-year anniversary. It's like, oh, here's my girlfriend. Like, you just don't get.
It's hard to. You're not even comfortable saying fiance yet, right?
No,
it takes a while.
I always
still girlfriend. Yeah. So I took her for our anniversary. It was 4 years now that I've been married to this wonderful woman,
Woo!
Mrs. S. Everybody applaud. Yes. Thank you. All right. Enough with the whatever. I actually took her to see the most hardcore band ever. Paul McCartney was playing at Madison Square Garden in New York City.
How was that?
It was just as boring as I thought it would be. But I don't really know a lot of Paul McCartney songs. I'll be honest. And I'm like, is he gonna play this goddamn Christmas song, the one I know? That's the only.
No, because everybody hates that song. Apparently, I found that out this year.
I did too. I'm like, I love that song.
Yeah,
please play this song that I know, and he didn't play it because it's not during Christmas time. You don't want to play it. Instead, he played "Live and Let Die," all that stuff I have heard before. But I noticed that
You mean the Guns N' Roses
Yeah,
one? He did a
yeah.
Guns N' Roses cover.
covering
That's
Guns N'
pretty
Roses,
rad.
Yeah. But in between every song, he would have these like long-winded stories about like before I was like hanging out with like Mick Jagger, and then we were just talking, and they asked me to they had this song they were playing, and they decided to like ask me if they should put it on their album. I'm like, yeah, of course. And then or he'd be like, I met this really great producer, blah, 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 and thanks to him, there would be no Beatles albums if I didn't work with this person. It's like, wouldn't you just get another producer and they would put out the album? Like, I don't know why you're acting like
I
this
don't know
one
what's
producer.
more boring, listening to Paul McCartney play live or listening to Paul McCartney tell fucking bullshit stories about his life.
Yeah, and what was getting on my nerves, I was telling my wife the same thing. It's like, it seemed like he kept name dropping, like, what you think you're a big deal because you met Mick Jagger.
Oh, one of the highest paid, most influential musicians of all time. You think you're hot shit? Go fuck yourself,
Yeah.
Paul McCartney.
He's like, I was hanging on Abbey Road. Yay, everyone cheers. Like, it's the fucking street.
Oh, Abbey Road, bruh.
Well,
What a fucking jerk off.
I know, acting like he's done anything with his life. Oh wow, you met Jimi Hendrix. What are you, a big deal now?
Listen, you don't even have a podcast, okay? This is 2017. This is 1964.
Yeah.
The fuck out of here.
But to be honest, he's really a sweet man, and his stories are endearing, I guess. But the problem I had was we went to fucking this train station in New Jersey. Every time
You went to fucking a train station?
Let me shut up. Threw my story off, damn it. Every time I take the New Jersey Transit,
That's pretty difficult. The transit cops will find you,
Yeah.
and you'll have to register as a sex offender. I would advise against that.
it's called running a train for a reason,
Oh,
But Bing, where's my rim shot? I guess we don't have a rim
or
shot.
rim job on the
Nice.
train. Am I right?
Yeah, at least we get the sitcom laughter. There we go. Something keeps happening with the New Jersey Transit every time. Like trains, they have to work on lines, stuff like that, so the trains get delayed. So we were gonna go out to dinner before we got there, but they ended up getting there so late we had to go settle for Fridays. And the Fridays at the Penn Station in New York, 3 times the cost of like a Fridays around here.
Of course.
So it's just like we're just gonna get one
For not better food, right?
Yeah, it's for the same thing. So I had planned to just get drunk during the Paul McCartney show, but we were rushing in there, so I fought it. I'm like, I'm not fucking paying $13 for a beer.
Oh man.
Of course, I gave in and bought
Yeah,
one.
let me tell you about $13 beers.
Yeah.
I hate concerts. I'm used to like just give me a beer for $5.
Mm-hmm.
Is that too much to ask? That's already an astronomical price. You don't need to charge $13. It's crazy.
But that's NYC for you. The Big Apple, they got to rip you off. That's because you. So
That's not just NYC. Let me.
No?
Some of the smaller clubs in NYC are fine. If you go out to Brooklyn, some of those clubs,
well,
you're
talking Brooklyn, of course.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I got really, really wasted back in March going to a show out there for not a lot of money. I don't think I spent more than $40, and I was like dangerously drunk. I went to see a show recently in Montclair, and I was only reasonably drunk, and I spent way more than I did in Brooklyn. And I think the reason is it's concerts versus shows.
Yeah,
if it's a
absolutely.
smaller venue, if it's a club, then for the most part you're going to be getting drunk at a reasonable price. If
It's basically bar prices.
yeah.
But now we're talking.
If it's a concert,
yeah. Or
then
like a stadium thing.
if there's seating,
Yeah.
fucking forget it. You are paying out the nose.
That's why
for
people
this.
pregame in fucking at PNC Bank. And even then,
Sometimes it's not even enough.
I know. Even then, once you go in, you sober up as soon as you get all the way to fucking in there. So they
Oh, and then the lines.
yeah. So enough of us being like old farts, but yeah, we're complaining a lot about prices. But so I didn't get drunk, unfortunately. So I'm just sitting there. But I broke the seal instantly after that beer and that soda my wife brought me. So you get up every time like, excuse me.
But it's all right. It's all right though. Oh, you were in the center.
Yeah.
Rookie mistake.
Yeah, and the tickets I bought was into the 200 section, but for some reason, I'm like, you look at the map online, you're like, oh, that's not too far away. You fucking get there, you stand up and you hit your head on the ceiling at fucking MSG because it's so far in the back. Regardless, I'm like, I don't get like, the people in the pit, the Paul McCartney pit, the circle pit,
fucking
area,
shit up.
They're paying way more than I paid for those 2 tickets. Because I paid 2 tickets, $300 for 2 tickets, so I'm not dropping $600 or for just to see him fucking 20 feet away, and I get a fucking elbow in my nose, during the heavy songs, so it wasn't worth it. But she had fun. She said she wanted to see him she wanted to see Paul McCartney before
he dies.
Yeah,
just
bucket list. And I wanted to see
before he dies.
Yeah.
Not before she dies. It's a different kind of bucket list.
Either way, yeah. But I want to see Hugh Hefner. I didn't get my wish, unfortunately, but oh well. So
well, if you take up grave robbing, you can still see him.
Yeah, necrophilia is still
Yes.
is the new black.
Believe me, it is very, very dark.
Yeah. So speaking of concerts, so Drew, you actually attended a few this month. I think you actually saw the Misfits or something like that.
No, I wish I could see the Misfits.
Oh, you had
because
to
they only play the West Coast, even though all of them grew up 10 minutes from my house.
They actually got close this time. They played Chicago, I believe, Riot Fest.
They reunited in Chicago, and then they played somewhere else, the second Riot Fest, and now they're playing Vegas.
Okay. So you actually saw the lead singer then?
I saw just the lead singer, that bum, who's been trying to get a solo career off the ground for 30 plus years now.
All right, so paint a picture for me. How was it? How was your experience seeing him? Where did you?
Well,
see him
this was where I bought $10 and $12 beers. Mm-hmm. This was I saw Danzig at the Wellmont in Montclair. Mm-hmm. The venue is beautiful venue. The architecture is amazing. You think I'm kidding? I'm being serious. The lines for bathrooms were awful.
Yeah.
The $10 and $12 beers were ridiculous. Even though we pre-gamed, it still wasn't enough. If I had known they were going to be that expensive, I would have fucking just downed this bottle of rum that we have over here. The show itself was really good, though. We also got seats because for some reason the pit was the least expensive and the second balcony. And there were 3 balconies, or 3 or 4 balconies, something like that.
So my question is, why would you pick the more expensive seats instead of being closer to them?
Because my fiance is about a foot shorter than me. Mm-hmm. And an ongoing situation with us is that I want to get in the pit area, and she can't see anything. So I thought this is the first time we've ever gone to a show where we actually have an option for a balcony. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take the balcony. It was a mixed bag. Okay. We didn't do what you did. I saw the opportunity to get seats right on the end, right where the stairs were, and I had no trouble. I could get up whenever I wanted. I didn't have to inconvenience anybody.
Right.
Lots of people inconvenienced me, but it was all right.
Someone
because at that point, I was already drunk enough. I didn't care.
Yeah. Openers. Anyone good?
Openers were good. Mutoid Man opened the show. Well, actually, no. A local band opened the show, and they were fucking awful. And it pissed me off because the other touring openers could have played for longer instead of letting this weird mix of this band that was a mix of Motorhead and I don't know, just awful fucking metal. I don't know. I don't even.
Well, Motorhead sounds like it would be a good idea on paper.
It started, yeah. They started out and it was okay, and then the longer they went, the more I disliked them. And the singer, he did that shit where between songs he would first off pretend like people were there to see them. I guess maybe some people were, 5 or 10 of their friends.
His friends that they sold tickets to, right?
And he would talk in the metal voice.
Fucking Death Clock?
Yeah, basically. It's like, all right, how you guys doing?
We're going to do this next song.
Yeah, it was obnoxious.
Okay.
But then Mutoid Man played. It's members of Converge and Cave In, and they sound nothing like Converge and Cave In. They're kind of this weird psychedelic prog rock sort of thing, but without taking themselves seriously at all.
Okay.
It was more weird and humorous than it was music. Mm-hmm. But they were very good. I'm really jealous because they're all so talented that they could fuck around and still sound reasonably good.
Okay. So they were good then. That actually got you more into the show.
Yeah.
And you were peaking at drunk level at this point, right?
I was starting to get there. I had a few beers before we left the house. I realize now I should have had whiskey.
Yeah. Same thing as
when we got there, we had couple of $10 PBRs.
I almost choked on my $10 PBRs.
Yes. Well, the craft beers are $12.
This has got to be the goddamn future. $12 for a fucking PBR.
And the lines for
they must have
for
been
the
like
PBR were
40
atrocious.
ounces, 40 ounce PBRs.
No, they were 16, I think. But still not worth it because you can go to. I saw a show. I don't know, 8 months ago. It was back in like February, I think, where we went to a bar and it was like $2 PBRs.
Perfect.
Yeah,
perfect. Even though you're still getting ripped off, but still.
I spent $12 and I was shit faced.
Awesome. So now, the mother of
no, not quite.
Okay, not yet.
Corrosion of Conformity.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they reunited with Pepper Keenan for the first time in 5 years or something like that. They did great.
That's the Clean My Wounds band?
Yes.
Okay.
That is the Clean My Wounds
band. I just want to make sure I'm that guy at the show.
No, everybody was that guy at the show because nobody gave a shit about Corrosion of Conformity until they played that song. They closed with it.
That's what they
No,
do.
but they were amazing. I was really, I've always kind of been into them, but they were on another level. Seeing them live really put them on another level.
I keep mixing them up with the band that sings the song Dance of the Dead. Is that them too? Or is that not Corrosion?
Dance of the Dead?
I guess it's not them. I know the band has a song called Dance of the Dead, but I always thought it was Corrosion of Conformity too. But the songs don't sound anything alike. So maybe it's not them. Go on, I'm sorry.
There's
they're slick.
Several of their albums that I don't know that well.
Yeah.
So
they're slick, so they know that the hit song that people want to see, that they play it last.
They played the singles. I think they played like two. There was like two songs I wasn't that familiar with, and everything else was just the singles from 20 plus years ago.
Okay, clever. But
it was good.
Yeah.
They played for like 20, 25 minutes. They could have gone for 40, I feel like.
Yeah, it's weird because if they're the second to last band, they should get longer times. Than
Yeah,
the first
especially but we had that opener that was on for 20 minutes, so there was that.
It's weird. Okay,
so but then the mother,
the mother of all metal bands, I guess, came out, and it's cool that you're still following Danzig because he's got like 17 albums, something like that.
No, well, I think it's like 12, 13.
Yeah,
he put out a new one pretty recently. I can't remember which one it is. The records are still sounding good. The production on the last one, the most recent one rather, was really sloppy. It sounded really shitty, but the songs were solid. So,
so what is he, now he's 50 years old. Is he still
50?
Sound great?
He is 62, my friend.
So he's still kicking ass and beating the shit out of people.
Shockingly good.
Okay.
He didn't miss a beat. He is a little bit fatter than he used to be, but aren't we all?
Yeah. He can still beat the shit out of us, so I wouldn't talk shit about him.
Yeah.
He's probably shorter than us at the same time.
I think he's about a foot shorter than me. So he's
like, yes, Mr. Danzig. Anything you say, Mr. Danzig.
Although he did get knocked out by that one guy from that
video,
yeah, that band, whatever.
I forget the name. Like, I think it was the Lemonheads,
something New York Kings or
okay.
New Jersey Devils or something like that. I don't know. New York Rangers.
The hockey team beat the shit out of him.
He didn't. He put on a hell of a show. Voice still sounds great. He still moves. He's just all over the stage. Didn't sound winded at all. It was like he wasn't 60.
Well, he's from here, so he's got to put on a show for Jersey,
And the thing that was kind of drove that home is I also saw Marilyn Manson a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Danzig has 20 years on Marilyn Manson. You would think it was reversed.
So Marilyn Manson's not as good as Danzig live?
He's too fat to care about much.
Yeah, I actually saw a picture of Manson playing at the Sterling Ballroom last year. He did look like he's got a gut now.
Yeah.
But that's what touring will do to you. I'm just pouring some of my...
So if you need to relive your adolescent goth I'd see Danzig first.
If you because we're probably never going to get to see the Misfits, so you're just saying this is the best thing to deal with.
Yeah, well, considering tickets are going for like $300 right now.
Yeah. Did he actually play Mother, or how was the reaction when he played that song?
Yeah, he closed with Mother, and then he did. He came up for an encore, did a couple of singles off that album.
Okay.
The set list was perfect. He only played 2 new songs. Everything else was from the first 4 records, which are kind of agreed upon that they're easily the best records in the discography. He played one off of, I think, the 10th record or the 7th record, something like that. It was a really solid, tight set. He could have played for longer, but I mean, I think
you know how you hate when shows go past 9 o'clock, so he was thinking about you.
I think it said he wants to stay relevant. He played for I think an hour and 15 minutes, something like that. It wasn't short, but it wasn't that long either. Okay. But I think that he doesn't want to. He's got a new record out. He doesn't want to be pigeonholed as like a legacy act, I'm sure. Yeah. So if you're playing for an hour and a half, 2 hours, then all of a sudden people have some shit to say about your relevance, I think.
Well, that's probably why I was so angry about this Paul McCartney show. 3 fucking hours. Who does this guy think he is? All right, so cool.
Excellent. And then the only fucked up thing was that
a fucked up thing. Okay.
Afterwards, I found out who is in Danzig. It's actually kind of a supergroup these days. It's obviously Danzig. The guitarist is from Prong. Okay. The bassist is from Samhain, and then the drummer is from Type O Negative. Okay. And I found this out after the fact, and I was like, I should have paid more attention to the band.
So at the same time, it's one of those cases where he's the only original member. Seeing suicidal tendencies. It's kind of.
Although technically, the bassist was in the band that became Danzig, so.
Okay. It's kind of a iffy thing. All right, I definitely will check them out next time they come around. I guess that was the best concert you went to. If you want to briefly talk about the Starland thing with the Exodus thing, if that was any good.
I'll tell you this much: Danzig is definitely aging better than the guys from Exodus. They still put on a great show, but I don't know how much longer they got.
Yeah, well, they got the guitarist from Slayer in that band, right, or vice versa.
Well, the guitarist from Exodus is in Slayer now.
Okay.
Obituary also played. They were great, very heavy, just very slow, very ignorant is the best way to describe them, but they're excellent. And the band that I really went to see more than anything is Power Trip.
Okay.
The hottest thrash metal band on the scene right now. And keep an eye out for them because they stole the show easily.
And it was their show though, right? Or who was actually?
No, they opened the show.
Okay, who's the headliner?
It was a co-headlining.
Okay.
Obituary played last, but I think they were like alternating each show.
All right, so this is what I gotta do, you guys. I gotta live vicariously through Drew.
He's got responsibilities. He can't be going out places.
Tell me about that show.
Paul McCartney shows to go to.
I actually went to a local show last night. I went to see this alt-right reggae band down the street, and they they sing about how.
I have a rude awakening for you.
What?
Just because they're skinheads doesn't mean they're a reggae band.
That's what they call themselves as.
I think
it's supposed to be ironic. Damn it.
I think they might just be Nazi skins.
Well, it's a fancy word of nowadays. You call them alt-right. You don't say Nazi. That's so passe. But they play reggae music, so it's kind of like it's okay, to use reggae music to preach their hate. So I thought, it would be a good idea while I'm waiting for the bands to play. They have a jukebox at the bar, so I popped on some Jimi Hendrix.
I love the irony of you going to, did you just go to that show for irony? You're like, listen,
is irony here tonight?
I need to be a black American and show up at a reggae show for an alt-right reggae show.
Well, I heard it was reggae, so I was there. And then when I found out that it was that way, I'm like, I might as well stay. And I had a jukebox there, so you put your money in to hear some music. I said, "Oh, I'm sure this guy wouldn't mind listening to some Jimi Hendrix." So when I put on Jimi Hendrix Greatest Hits, and when the Star Spangled Banner song came on, I had to kneel, of course. Yeah. And they didn't like that too much, so they threw me out. Long story short, I was up way too late. So as you guys can see, I'm recovering from a slight hangover because I had to go to work all day this morning. But I powered
Work is
through.
the best cure for a hangover.
It's the worst, But
It'll if it doesn't kill you, then
makes you
your
stronger.
hangover will get better.
yeah, I kept telling myself the whole night before, I'm like, I gotta maintain so I don't get too drunk. Maybe I'll just do 3 shots and 5 beers and keep it at that. Don't go too crazy.
That was my 4th of July.
Yeah, one of my favorite holidays. So I made it through, but now as we're going on in the show, I think I'm gonna try a new thing today. I'm going to review a TV show in a segment I call Binge or Cringe, and soon I will have some music for that. So basically, this is how it works. I watch a entire season of a show on Netflix or whatever streaming platform I can find, and I'll tell you guys if you should binge the show or just not watch it at all.
I'm going to start a new segment on this show as well, where I review new foodstuffs. It's going to be called Binge and Cringe.
Oh, okay.
It'll go well with your binge
Why
or
don't
cringe.
you binge and purge it, But then you have to eat it anyway, so I guess that's a good point.
Well, you binge and then you cringe and then you purge because you cringed.
Right.
It's a whole situation.
So today I will be reviewing the season 4 of Bojack Horseman. Now that is the animated adult show that premiered on Netflix in August of 2014, and currently they just released that 4th season, which I'm going to be talking about right now. So, so for those who don't know about the show, it's about a self-absorbed, slightly alcoholic talking horse named Bojack, voiced by Will Arnett.
I think the reason that Jarrell started on it was the description could easily be of himself.
I just saw a little bit of me in him, I'm not self-absorbed. Anyway, back to myself. I'm the one that's talking here. Will Arnett does the voice of the horse, and you might know him from Arrested Development or the Oscar-worthy film Let's Go to Prison, which
I was going to say the one where he almost gets raped, right?
Yeah, time will tell on that one when it finally people realize the genius of that film. So Bojack was once a popular 90s television star. Now that he's in his 50s and his career has peaked, he has become bitter and insecure towards Hollywood. Other characters on this show are the simple-minded yet friendly slacker named Todd, who's voiced by Breaking Bad's Aaron Paul. You got the third wave feminist girl Diane. Who's voiced by Allison Brie from Community, and she's a human who's married to a Labrador Retriever named Mr. Peanut Butter, who's voiced by Paul Tompkins, who you might remember from VH1's Best Week Ever. That's really
probably, unfortunately. That's gonna go on his tombstone.
Not this TV show, but Best Week Ever. That's not only is he this energetic, cheerful character, but Bojack despises him because of his optimism and the fact that his career. He was also a 90s sitcom star, but his career is doing a little bit better than his. And he ran out the cast with the main cast with this Persian cat named Princess Caroline, who was Bojack's agent.
It's essentially the Full House story, just with a dog and a horse instead of Bob Saget and John Stamos.
Right. So you actually watched the show then before?
I saw the first season, and from what I understand, it gets really fucking real after the first season.
Right.
It was there were a couple of episodes that were a little bit I don't know, sad for lack of a better word, but overall it was kind of just a straight comedy.
Yeah.
And then from everything everybody tells me, it's kind of depressing after that.
Well, I'll tell you this, and the same thing, everyone else that asked me the same question. People ask me, how's the show Bojack Horseman? Because I couldn't really get into it. And I'll tell honestly, it's not, the first season's not that funny. Not saying it's unfunny, but I'm just saying he's making jokes and stuff like that. Or they're writing good jokes, but you want to see a show where there's just joke after joke. It's not going to pull you in. For me, what made me keep watching was besides the fact that I can relate to him so much, because I was a '90s star too. Obviously, I was really big in the '90s, but now I'm just this failed podcaster.
Weren't we all?
But now he's what I like about it is I started following the characters, and I liked where the characters going, so I invested myself into them. So that's why I stuck with it for those 4 seasons.
I think it's a slow burn. Would you say
right.
that?
Yeah, the first season is a slow burn, but I trudged through it, and then I found out when it peaked the second half of the first season is just better than the first half, I think.
It's kind of like Star Wars. Just get through A New Hope, and then some good shit's coming.
Exactly.
They're gonna be cutting hands off and fucking revealing shit.
And then there'll be incest. It'll be great.
Yeah.
In addition to the witty one-liners on this show, and the satirical outlook on the film industry and celebrity culture, the show has began to tackle some dramatic themes as each season's progressed, as Drew was saying. And at the end of the third season, Bojack sinks into a depression after someone close to him passes away, and he decides to abandon his life and everyone in it as he travels the world, or to find himself or whatever. So he disappears for so long that he's not even in the first episode of the new season. Instead, we see Mr. Peanut Butter is running for governor against a more qualified current governor, Kudchuck Berkowitz. Princess Caroline is considering having a baby with her boyfriend, who's actually a mouse. So that's interesting. Like, you got a mouse and a cat, like, in a relationship. And Todd is on one of his many entrepreneurial adventures, which, like everyone else, are recurring themes throughout the season. And when Bojack returns from his trip, he brings along more baggage, starting with this young female horse who's looking for her mother and claims to be Bojack's daughter. So it's like, oh my God.
Scandalous.
Scandal, yeah. And speaking of mothers, Bojack is forced to reconcile or reconnect with his own mother, who herself is battling with dementia. And the episode entitled Time's Arrow has a really interesting visual of how, like, a person with dementia sees things and how they remember past events. Because, like, she'll be flashbacking to things, and it'll, like, cut scenes out. Like, it'll cut to a next part. And also a person's face will be completely, like, scratched out, so you can't see the face. So it's just like, it's an interesting take on what dementia is like. So I thought that was really good what they did with that. Naturally, with his career in limbo and the insecure little girl who reminds him of himself now living in his house, Bojack continues to drink and beat himself down on his ego, which is seen in probably one of the best episodes of the season, entitled Stupid Piece of Shit. And whenever he judges himself or tries to, like, imagine how others look at him, he starts to, like, they have this, like, hyperactive, like, animation of him, like, of what's going on. And I thought that really added some, like, dynamics to that episode. And even with all the darker topics, the show still balances some humor. So don't worry, Drew. It's not like this all doom and gloom, unless that's what you want out of a cartoon.
I need a gloomy cartoon.
Like, there's an episode called Thoughts and Prayers, and it has, like, this funny observation of how, like, when a mass shooting happens and, like, scenes from a movie have to be cut out because it reminds, like, the viewer of the tragedy. Like, the Hollywood executives are more concerned with, like, the losing money, and when they keep saying, like, oh, thoughts and prayers are with the victims, it becomes more and more, like, meaningless and insincere. So I thought that was a good observation with that. And then also this season features, like, a few, like, celebrity voicing themselves. Like, for example, you got
Hugh Hefner.
Close. You got Jessica Biel, you got Zach Braff, and you got Sir Mix-a-Lot, who is in this case.
Damn, where they dig up Sir Mix-a-Lot from?
Sir Mix-a-Lot's in here, and in this case, he has no problem being the butt of the joke. Okay. So, all in all, this season has been as intriguing and as entertaining as the previous two, and I must reveal that there are a couple sex scenes between Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter that may seem a little bit weird to the casual viewer, but as I always say, you can't spell Bojack Horseman without semen.
Yeah, dog on girl.
Human, yeah.
Sex is always a little bit controversial. I don't know why. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah. So this show actually reminds me of another show I used to watch from the 90s called Duckman.
Yes.
If you remember that show?
I do.
So basically, you guys don't know, Duckman was voiced by
Nobody
Jason
knows.
Alexander, and he's about a duck who's like also a private eye, and he's self-absorbed and cares about himself and egotistical, things like that. And he's got a family, stuff like that. But in that actual world, there's also humans and different animals living together, similar to Bojack Horseman. So maybe it was also an adult animated cartoon as well, and I was a big fan of that, so I like that whole aspect. And I think if you haven't seen that show, you definitely should pick up the DVDs, or maybe you can watch the episode on YouTube, because they probably post them all on there. But this latest episode season of BoJack as well as the others 3 are definitely worth your time. So I'm gonna say binge this show. Definitely check out BoJack Horseman and catch up Drew as well. Catch up on the other seasons. It's a really good show. And that's my first one. So thank you everybody for being patient with me. Thank you for the applause, everything like that. I think I earned myself a taste of some of my rum. Drew, how you doing over there? Doing good?
I'm doing great.
All right. The beer treating you right. Would you like some rum too?
Fantastic. I think I can't handle rum. Not right now, anyway.
Maybe in a couple minutes.
If I was sleeping here, maybe.
Oh, there's plenty of room for you in the back. I might be able to give you a nice cot to sleep on, and if you don't mind me spooning with you. I only got to ask the wife.
A nice what to sleep on?
A cot or some hay. You want
I
hay?
thought you said something else.
A cock to sleep on, yeah. All right. Let's see what's next on the agenda. I know I promised you I don't want to chew on the mic, but I'm
Liar.
Oh. By the way, I think Netflix is going to be fucking killing these regular broadcast television shows at the rate they're going. Because I took the opportunity to watch a couple of new shows that are coming out this fall. The pilot episodes, anyway. One show I watched was called The Mayor. About a black kid who wants to get his mixtape out. And he fakingly runs for mayor and then ends up winning. And then it's got the girl from Glee in it.
That sounds like a fake show from another show. Like,
Okay.
if it was... That sounds like a show that would be on Bojack Horseman.
Yeah, it's that bad. But I only saw the pilot, and it seemed like that premise could just be a movie. But they're going to try to stretch it out into a fucking TV show.
I don't know why everything has to be a TV show these days.
Yeah.
Why are they remaking all these movies and making them into TV shows? Why is Uncle Buck a TV show?
Has it come out yet?
That came out,
Okay, and
was on, and got canceled.
I was thinking the same thing was going to happen with that Lethal Weapon shit, but it's still on. I'm like, I don't get it. This is not
Is it a
good
Lethal
show.
Weapon remake?
Yeah,
What's happening in the world right now?
It's got Damon Wayans as the Danny Glover's character and some other no-name white guy.
Damon Wayans is definitely too old for this shit.
Yeah. Nice. That was good, man. So anyway, back to the mayor. It's just like David Spade is like probably the biggest celebrity in this TV show, and he's only in the beginning. Yeah, I think he's gonna come back later because he's the rival mayor that I guess loses. This guy's got is so optimistic that the kid running for mayor, and he's constantly making jokes and shit, and it's annoying. So it's not.
I know. I hate when they make jokes in sitcoms. It fucking pisses me off.
When they're trying to be like, when you're trying to think that the person's trying to be like a real person, but they're constantly doing one-liners and like doing a routine when they're talking to someone. You ever watch like Chelsea Handler in like a movie, and instead of like
Chelsea Handler's done movies?
Yeah, if you want to call it that. She was in this movie with Reese Witherspoon, which I regret watching. But every time she would talk to her, like having a conversation with her friend, it was just her doing like a routine. Like, who wants to have a friend that's just trying to do like her amateur, like a stand-up in front of you when you're just trying to talk to them? So this kid seems like
those are friends that don't get invited to anything.
Yeah. So the mayor, I don't think it's going to last too long. The other show I watched, which I really want to talk with Drew about, show called The Orville, which is another attempt at Seth MacFarlane to do a live-action show starring himself. And as you can see from his movie, A Million Ways to Die in the West, it might not work out. He needs to stick to just doing cartoon voices.
You didn't like his movies?
Well, Ted is not an example. Is not a good example. But I'm talking about when he's.
But Ted 2, though.
Ted 2 was, not as good as the first, but the award-winning first movie. But it had some funny parts. That's what basically happened.
I thought it was pretty bad.
Oh, Ted 2?
Well, yeah, the plot was almost non-existent.
Yeah.
But
that happens with sequels, most of the time.
No,
with the exception of Empire Strikes Back.
Did you see Horrible Bosses, though? That was a movie that had almost no plot, but...
The second one, you mean?
Yeah.
I saw the first one, not the second one. Same thing with
the sequel doesn't make any sense, but it's still kind of funny.
Well, the reason I brought up Seth MacFarlane because me and Drew go back a long way, and Drew was animate about how much
I have
he
mixed
hated-
feelings about Seth MacFarlane now. I gotta admit.
Okay, so
I'm not as militant as I was 10 years
he was
ago.
militant about how much Family Guy sucked.
I think
and
I slapped the Family Guy DVD out of your hand one time.
and he was like saying, and I said, I'll stick with this show. And I took me till 2010 before I gave up.
God damn.
I'm like, I watched the premiere of an episode, and I'm like, I can't handle this fucking shit anymore. And I had the same problem as you, and the same problem that South Park
That it's
pointed out.
not funny, and
Yeah.
that it just kind of meanders around and
Cutaways, just all of those cutaways. So when he came out this TV show, which looks like it's going to be a ripoff of Galaxy Quest, because it's basically like Star Trek, but everyone's saying that it's actually a drama. So I watched the pilot episode, and I think he's mixing up the difference between when something's a drama and when something just isn't funny. I think he's not. You can't like make a joke.
I assumed it was a comedy.
Right. It's basically like if a comedian gets on stage and tells a bunch of jokes and no one boos, no one claps, they just sit there and look at you. And then at the end you're like, oh, I wasn't even telling jokes. I was just being dramatic. This is basically what the show is like. I think that excuse me. I think throughout the episode, which felt like it was an hour long, they seemed like that was a joke, but it wasn't funny. It's not like I'm offended, like it's a bad joke. It's just there, So this whole episode, I'm just thinking like Seth MacFarlane needs to like. I understand that he realizes that he wants to do more than just be the Family Guy guy, but
Who wouldn't?
It just doesn't seem like I don't know. It just doesn't seem like him trying to branch out to anything else has his actual face is gonna work.
I feel like I disagree with it to a certain extent. I think that A Million Ways to Die in the West was overall pretty funny.
What?
It had issues, but I think it was a pretty solid movie. Ted was decent. Ted 2 had a couple of funny jokes, I guess. I was actually kind of interested in seeing the Orville.
Check it out, man. There's more than one episode. I just watched the pilot.
I was also shocked. I caught. I was on an Adult Swim kick briefly a few years ago. I caught a bunch of American Dad episodes, and I was surprised at how good that show is.
It is good. I was telling you that when it first came out. You wouldn't listen to me.
Because I was just staunchly opposed to Family Guy, and it's essentially the same. It's basically what would happen if Peter Griffin was an FBI agent. So I had no interest.
Yeah. I mean, they have other themes and like talking alien, so it's different. But
yeah, instead of a talking dog, they have a talking alien.
But they have a talking fish too, instead of a talking baby. So
oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's cool.
It's completely different.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. Damn it. There goes din 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 din. See, it's different.
And they don't hate the daughter. The daughter's cool in the other one.
Yeah, Haley is fine as fuck, man. If I was a cartoon character. But
oh yeah.
Anyway, it's just watch the Orville. But my opinion is, it's just if it's supposed to be dramatic, like they're saying, it's just like I don't see the drama. It's just like this.
He shouldn't be doing dramatic things, and they shouldn't be marketing a drama as a comedy because those commercials didn't sound dramatic to me at all. It's
called a dramedy because there's comedy in it, but I didn't find it. So that's why I'm saying this. Don't cut the drama off it, and to say this is a attempted comedy show.
I feel like whenever you see a quote unquote dramedy, there's a good chance it was just a failed comedy.
Mm-hmm. Good one. All right, so that's all I want to get out of that way, and I'm sure you guys are ready for some reviews now, because the long-awaited album from Kesha has finally been released. So let's talk about that one first. All right, Kesha's new album, Rainbow, and she's a dance pop singer, songwriter. Kesha, formerly known as K $Ha, which she released her third album, and now as
it's my favorite K-pop group, K $Ha.
Yeah, so now that she released her new album, Society Can Rejoice, because I know we've been all missing that generic EDM music in our lives. Kesha originally got her start in 2005 when she signed to Kemosabe Records, owned by producer Dr. Luke.
First off, can we talk about this fucking guy?
We are going to, but let me just get a little bit. In 2009, after doing guest vocals on Flo Rida's track Right Round, she released her highly successful debut album, Animal. That album reached #1 on the Billboard charts thanks to singles like TikTok and Your Love Is My Drug. And after her second album, Warrior, was released.
Your Love Is My Drug? That
Yeah.
was a song?
Remember that song? Oh, you don't remember it.
I'm sure I've heard it, but
Yeah.
that's an awful name for a song.
I see this review is going to go really well for her. Don't worry, Kesha. We might turn around. So her
$K$, huh?
Yeah. After her second album, Warrior, was released in 2012, Kesha sued her producer, Dr. Luke, claiming she was physically and emotionally abused and discriminated. And that caused delays in her album and her recording a follow-up record. Now, Drew, you were saying you want to talk about that thing?
First off, Kemosabe Records. Call it fucking anything else. That is a terrible name for a record label. Second off, don't call yourself Dr. Luke.
Right.
Dr. Dre can get away with it because he's like an intimidating looking guy. You are a white Eastern European man, very skinny, kind of ugly.
Yeah.
Don't call yourself Dr. Luke. You can't get away with it.
Okay.
And you can't get away with rape either, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
he did, but
you kind of can, I guess.
Now the problem,
But she called you out on it, though.
Yeah, but the problem is, I'll get to it later. But we talked about it on a previous podcast when the thing happened. What she did wrong was she wanted out of her contract because she felt her creativity was being stifled, and then she claimed that she was being assaulted. And then when they said, okay, we'll just get you another producer, and she's like, no, I just want out of my contract. Then that kind of threw a red flag and threw out her whole thing. So she kind of fucked herself on that.
I want to believe that he is a rapist because I saw pictures of him and I was like, oh yeah, if that guy isn't a rapist, I don't know what he is.
Yeah,
certainly not a record producer.
I'll take the rapist for $400, Alex.
That's a terrible Sean Connery impression. of all right Sean Connery impression.
You knew who it was.
Like Inception Sean Connery impression.
Kesha decided to channel her emotions from that experience as well as her other life lessons into her music, which culminated into this latest release. So after her first album, she has been hinting that she wanted to explore other genres of music such as rock, which she touched on a bit with the album Warrior, but this album really shows her diversity in styles. Now, I bet you're wondering if she still has sleazy tracks about glitter and drinking and partying till the break of dawn. Well, spoiler alert, you guys, there is no mention of glitter anywhere on this album. I didn't hear any glitter songs. Instead, we hear a collection of pop songs, also R&B, country, and rock tunes featuring lyrics about female empowerment and having an optimistic look on life, not to mention more profanity than an episode of South Park. Let's talk about the actual first song.
I was a little surprised by the profanity.
Yeah.
Take it down a notch, Kesha. You're a role model.
Exactly. The first song called Bastards, which is probably the cleanest word she uses. This is like a bluesy acoustic guitar song ballad where Kesha belts out the catchphrase, "Don't let the bastards get you down," followed by "Don't let the assholes wear you out." How was that doing it for you?
I was actually kind of surprised at that first song. Lyrics were kind of generic. I feel like it was something that I would have written when I was 16 in my notebook for my punk band.
Yeah. Don't let the bastard get you down. Yeah,
but it was it was a very atmospheric and slow, and I like the instrumentation at the end. I was actually kind of. It started the album off on a good foot. I was going into this album wanting to fucking hate it. I was gonna give this album a fuck this.
Yeah. Just by principle alone.
Because I'd never given Kesha very much of my time, but about 10 years ago, it was kind of difficult to avoid her.
Right.
I don't like this whole I'm a pop singer, but I'm gonna look like I woke up in a dumpster and pretend like I'm all your Keshas, your Miley Cyruses, your Pinks. You're not Avril Lavigne.
Yeah,
you're a pop singer. Okay, you're not edgy at all.
She tried to be the most edgy pop singer out there, but then now Miley Cyrus is trying to take that. That's a good point. I see what you're saying. But you're more
the glitter, the fucking eyeliner, the talk rap singing. Just stop it. Fucking can't stand that shit.
So you didn't believe that she brushed her teeth with a bottle of Jack?
No, no.
Oh well. So,
I don't think that she's brushed her teeth with anything other than Crest Pro White and whitening strips.
and her finger, maybe.
I don't buy any of this shit. So I went into this album expecting fucking that garbage, and I got this kind of atmospheric, bluesy, acoustic song, and so I was like, okay.
Yeah. And what I wanted to actually talk about also, there's you're a rock guy. I like a little more rock in my music as well. And there's actually 2 songs featuring the Eagles of death metal on here.
I fucking can't stand that band.
Okay, it's neither. All right.
I may be a rock guy, but I'm not an Eagles of death metal guy. They're kind of like the Kesha of like desert rock. It's like nobody thinks you're fucking edgy because you talk about drugs all the time and you have a fucking handlebar mustache and wear sunglasses inside.
Well, did your anger for the band like go?
You're a pop group. Just fucking get over yourself.
Did your anger of the band bleed into like the song? Did you actually like the 2 songs?
It was kind of interesting because those were my 2 least favorite songs on the album.
Okay.
And then I looked down at Spotify and it said Kesha, Eagles of Death Metal. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Well, that's weird because I thought like let them talk was like it's an interesting punk garage rock song.
It felt like something that what was that? Was that the second track?
Yeah.
That felt like something that Blink-182 would have rejected for being too obvious. It was fucking garbage. That was my least favorite song in the song.
Well, actually, I honestly think out of the 2 songs, I thought the second song, Boogie Feet, I thought it was a little bit better because it's more of like a what do you call that
just
kind of
slightly, just because it wasn't generic.
It was groove. It was more groovier dance rock that what do they call it? Boogie rock that they do. And although I thought he sounded like Mr. Ed when he was saying that "Dance with Me" during the chorus, I'm like, is this Mr. Ed or who is that on the backing vocals over there?
Dance with me,
Wilbur. Female domination is celebrated on the horn-driven funk track "Women." As Kesha shouts, "I'm a motherfucking woman!"
Which I gotta take exception to this.
Okay.
I thought it was just, kind of a generic female empowerment song, like you said.
Exactly, yeah.
I looked it up. Did you know that was supposed to be a song about Donald Trump?
How?
Exactly. Which is one of my complaints about this entire album.
Not enough Trump songs.
Not enough songs that sound like reheated Blink-182.
Yeah.
No. She has these lyrics are obviously hinting at things that were like in the news, but they're so vague and not even in a good way. Like I feel like at one point she has a song, I don't remember which one it was, but she has a song that is obviously about her alleged rape.
Yeah.
And one of the lyrics is "I've been through hell and back."
Yeah,
like
it's probably
how
praying.
generic is that?
But she's a pop singer. Of course she's going to.
It's like not even vague in a way where it could have different meanings. It's just like, what is this? What is this about?
Yeah. But already though. What it's about.
Yeah. Well, except for this song, because apparently it's about Donald Trump.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. Woman is about Donald Trump. In a roundabout way.
It's not like an Alice in Chains type of way where it's like, oh, this is actually about heroin addiction. Like it could be about anything.
Yeah.
This is like, oh, this is clearly and obviously like female empowerment song. It's like, no, it's about politics. So like, how is that? What?
Yeah. Well, I thought it was kind of good that she was tackling that important issues like dancing with her ladies and not touching her weed. So I'm like, wow, that's deep, man. You're getting deep on us. Praying, I thought is the one you're talking about. That's the piano-driven song where people think it's about Dr. Luke, and apparently a lot of people are comparing this song to Beyonce's Lemonade album. I got something to say about that.
I think that's a little bit.
Yes. Okay. So I heard Lemonade. Obviously, we reviewed that previously before, and I do see that. I do hear Kesha is belting out the high notes on that song. I'll give her credit for that, similar to what Beyonce kind of did on her album. But I originally thought that Beyonce's album was a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a gimmick to get people to buy it because this whole like scandal with her husband.
I mean, Beyonce is a gimmick. Period.
Yeah. I thought there was a whole publicity stunt. That's the one I'm looking for, and it probably is. But then when I heard Jay-Z's 444, I'm like, okay, maybe that really did happen. Now we're getting to Kesha. So I need to hear Dr. Luke's response record before I, side with this.
It's coming, but it's Pink or some fucking buddy is gonna be doing it for him.
He just got his allegation, his rape album. Is
I think Kesha's first 2 albums were his rape albums, right?
Yeah, basically he has that album titled, She Didn't Say No Because She Was Sleeping. So that'd be a good title. Other than that, I think the song "Praying" is decent. I mean, but it's better than a lot of the songs. I found the middle of the album it's slumped for me.
Yeah,
a lot
definitely.
of metaphoric songs about rainbows and bland pop tunes about not regretting the past and other shallow topics. That's when it lost me. Then it gets back when it gets to I think the song called "Hunt You Down." It's a country western song that had my foot kind of tapping. I want to lace up my spurs.
My problem with that was it came out of nowhere.
Okay.
And that's kind of my problem with this whole album is every song sounds completely different from the last song. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about it. It's not cohesive at all.
It's jarring.
Exactly. But I think if I had to listen to a full album of any of these types of songs, it would be boring as shit.
Right. Okay. So it's good that she mixed it up, but it doesn't flow.
It's only good that she mixed it up because she kind of had to mix it up. Otherwise, it would have been.
Well, we're going to talk
really
about
shitty.
if that's true or not in a second, but I like that country song because I want to put on my spurs and have a hold down. I love that not generic, but that cliche country western sound. Briefly. So like you said, I don't want to hear a whole album with that, but
it would have been torture, the whole album of that.
Godzilla is another song here. It's a quirky lullaby that sounds like it could have been off of Miley Cyrus's Dead Pets album. And if you ever wonder what would happen if Godzilla went to the mall, not only do you need more things to occupy your mind, but this track is for you. But then I found out later that song's actually a metaphor about having a really toxic boyfriend, destroying the mall or bringing him to the parents, shit like that.
It was such a ham-fisted metaphor too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so that was. I didn't get that at first, so you picked up right away.
I didn't either, but I knew it was a toxic somebody.
Yeah, I thought it was literally about Godzilla because the way the song comes off is like a children's song. So I just okay, this is stupid. But then when I read about that, I'm like, okay, interesting, but who gives a fuck? I think Kesha's credits. To Kesha's credit, I should say, she uses the guests on this album really well. I thought, even though you hate the Eagles of death metal, I thought the guests that were on each song, I thought was pretty good.
I fucking can't stand the Eagles of death metal, and also I didn't realize that Dolly Parton was on that one song.
Yeah, I was about to talk about that.
She's completely non-existent. Where was she?
But she did a good job, though. I thought she was good on that song.
I couldn't tell her from Kesha.
Oh, okay. She did this. I could tell she was on second verse, but that song's actually a cover of a song written by Kesha's mom, PB Siebert. And like Drew said, Dolly Parton's on that track.
By the way, what's up with that family's names? Kesha and PB?
PB. I don't know, man. It's just it's obviously her mom's like a flower child or something like that. That's why her daughter is so in the dirt and glitter and shit. I found like this album was kind of reminding me of Lady Gaga's latest album with the diversity. She did the same thing. Lady Gaga had pop, rock, and country and soul on her record. So I was comparing it a lot to that and saying I think Lady Gaga did it better than you. Obviously because I rated that album so high when we reviewed it last year. I will go first my rating and then you tell me what you think.
Go for it.
My biggest complaint is I think what we're both saying is the lyrics. When she wasn't swearing unnecessarily often, her topics were so bland and uninspiring that the songs left no impact on me afterwards. So I would be surprised if a woman heard this album and she's like, wow, I'm inspired to just carry on with my life. That's pretty all it's going to be. I don't think they're going to be inspired to do anything more than that. And I understand that Kesha doesn't want to be pigeonholed as this sex-crazed dance artist. But honestly, I think sometimes you have to just stick with what works for you. And I think what she was doing on the first album is kind of what we want to hear from Kesha. And if she incorporated some of that throughout this album, I would have given it a higher rating than what I'm going to give it now. So I think this album is just okay. And I'm going to give this a download. Check it out, see what you think of it. What do you think, Drew?
I disagree wholeheartedly.
It was amazing.
I don't want to hear any of that fucking sex-crazed glitter fucking bullshit ever again.
Okay.
I think that her previous producer was holding her back significantly. I feel like this is a huge leap for her artistically. I think as far as mainstream pop goes, you're not going to get any better than this. I think that if you're if you're a believer, if you're part of the Bay Hive,
Selena Gomez, Clyde,
if you're what are Katy Perry's fans called? Are they periwinkles?
Prairie dogs.
Periwinkles. If you're a periwinkle, if you're a prairie dog, pick up this album and it'll blow your fucking mind. On the other hand, if your musical palette is more diverse than top 40 schlock, you're not missing anything here. You've heard everything this has to offer before, but it's been done better before, I feel like.
I agree.
I think it's not a bad effort for her, and I think that she really kind of didn't make me a believer, didn't really change my mind. I'm never going to probably listen to her again, but I don't fucking hate her anymore, so that's something. So I'm going to give this 2 ratings, and then I'm going to give it a 3rd rating. I'm going to combine the 2.
Okay.
I'm going to say if you're a pop fan, you need to buy this. I'm going to say if you are not a top 40 pop fan, don't pay this any mind. I'm going to even those out and say download.
All right, so we kind of agree in a way, but you think that you don't want to hear her doing that old stuff anymore.
Yeah.
So let us know what you think in the comments. If you actually heard the new Kesha, what would you give it? And also give us your opinion as well. We let them know what you think. Wow, I'm actually surprised. I was thinking like, you're gonna hate this shit. Like, you know,
I kind of wanted to tell you ahead of time.
I was expecting,
but I was like, no, it needs to be a surprise.
I was so nervous when I finally finished rating it. I'm like, he's gonna think I'm fucking like a fucking pussy, thinking this album's okay.
You know what's gonna happen now? I've kind of fucked myself because now you're gonna have to bring up something else that'll be objectionable to my sensibilities, so that we can have some sort of disagreement on this.
At some point, we're gonna disagree, and that's
I
when
could flip this fucking table over during a review.
Yeah. What country are you from?
Why'd you make me listen to this?
What? What in no country I ever heard of? I'm like, what are you talking about, Drew? Say what one more time. All right. That's Pulp Fiction reference number 12, and we'll keep them coming as the shows go on. We are going to get into the rock music now, and this is the latest album from Brand New. Their album is called Science Fiction, and they're an alternative rock band from Long Island, New York. So they're right around down the street from us. And they are not really that close, but you know what I'm saying.
It's like 65 miles.
Close enough, damn it. Same coast. They are credited for being one of the groups who revived the emo music scene in the early 2000s, along with Taking Back Sunday, Dashboard Confessional, Jimmy Eat World, to name a few. And actually, this band formed in the year 2000, and apparently they're breaking up next year, so this is a very important album we're going to be reviewing. Members include Jesse Lacey, Vinny Accardi, Brian Land, and also Garrett Turney.
And I was really surprised to find out that they were all original members.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to see that the same members all the whole time. They all had prior experience in the local independent and hardcore music scene before they created Brand New. And in 2001, they released their debut album, Your Favorite Weapon, but it wasn't until the second album, Deja in the Do, which is I think it's French for Already Heard. That came out in 2003, and that really pushed the band into the mainstream, and it blended the indie rock and emo sound, was embraced by fans and critics thanks to singles like The Quiet Things That No One Ever Knows and I Will Play My Game Beneath the Spinlight. So they love to have those long song titles. That's like kind of emo staple during that time.
Not quite as bad as Fall Out Boy.
Yeah, but you know. The following year, the band signed to Interscope Records and released a darker album, The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me, and in 2006, followed by the more raw and chaotic album Daisy in 2009. And this latest album we're going to review right now is the longest gap between studio albums, 8 years to be exact. However, this band has been always active in the music recording studio as well as playing random sold out shows throughout the world. Drew, what is your experience with this band? You listen to them a lot, or?
I actually did. When I was a teenager, I had a thing for really shitty emo. So I would. This is right on the cusp of. I had a 56K modem, so this is like right on the cusp of downloading. So I would frequently just blind buy emo albums.
Yeah.
And I heard the one single off of Deja Entendu, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be
huge,
pretty cringy. I bought it, and I was actually really surprised that it was actually just a good, like, alt-rock album.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think that the tie to, like, emo and pop-punk really hurt them in the long run. I think that if you're into other alt-rock bands, if you're into, like, you know, Pixies and Modest Mouse and, like, all this shit, you should be into Brand New. And I feel like a lot of people aren't.
Like, they would always talk about on the first album how they loved Morrissey and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
definitely,
if you like Morrissey, you definitely should check out that band. I feel like there's like two camps when it comes to Brand New. There's people who only like the first two albums, and then there's the diehard fans who continue to worship the band despite their slight change in sound on albums 3 and 4. And I guess I fall in the column A. I'll be honest with you.
We all know how you like your pop punk.
Yeah. So before listening to this album. Before listening to this brand new, I was hoping that they would like incorporate some of the sounds from the previous album that you were talking about, True. And then when I heard that first track, "Light Me Up," which
sounded like The Cure.
Yeah, very dark, gloomy number, which Jesse's like singing over some very minimalistic beat and angelic keyboards. I was like fucking worried. I'm like, great, they're gonna do this whole like thing again, like they did on the last album. So I was turned off. But then that next track came on, Can't Get It Out, and my interest was perked immediately. That song.
I actually wasn't that into that track.
Okay. Now I'll tell you guys what the song sounds like, and you gotta tell me why you didn't like it, because this is what I'm gonna describe it as, and Drew's gonna have to really explain why he doesn't like this song for you that haven't heard it. Now that song begins like this simple acoustic guitar strumming before the band comes into this like 90s alternative pop rock style, a la like the Pixies or Weezer during the Pinkerton years. Musically, the track is very catchy and will have you rocking your head back and forth, side to side throughout the whole time, unless you're Drew. So he's going to explain to me why he didn't like that song.
I think I didn't like it because for the same reason you did like it, and for the same reason you prefer old Brand New to newer Brand New, is a little bit too upbeat and catchy.
Oh, you hate when it's catchy?
Yeah, and considering the rest of the album wasn't like that, it was almost like a Kesha situation, where it's like, why there was a slow build song, and then it leads into some fucking pop punk immediately afterwards. It's weird and it's jarring.
Well, it's not really punk at all. I don't think there's any punk on this album.
You're right. It was pop punk.
Okay, I fell for that one, but I just think it sounds like what they did on their older stuff.
Yeah, it didn't go as far as their earlier stuff.
Right. I'm never gonna say,
but it
this
was
is better,
definitely
yeah.
like shades of it.
Yeah, right. I would say that this album in general has hints of the Deja album, but it's not. You're not gonna get that same album again. But what I was worried about is hearing them play stuff from the previous stuff, which apparently they're doing that. You hear more of their later albums and on this one than you hear of the first two, right?
Yeah, it seemed like that. I mean, I'm not that familiar with the last two albums, but it definitely didn't seem like their first album, or even all of their second album.
Yeah. So, like I said, this sounds like Daisy a little bit here and there. It's not but this album as a whole is not too in your face, and the songs come out very basic. I think it's very minimalistic in the sound, very skeleton like. But
very dark and atmospheric. I've been using that word a little bit too much, but that's the only way.
Atmosphere is a good word. I love that word because it says so many things. It says that the person's being like experimental or not. So atmospheric is a beautiful blanket term.
It's something if you want to read or like do drugs too, like not hard drugs, but like just want to chill out.
Yeah.
Then that's something you put on this album, or most of this album, except for the second track.
But the somber vibe you hear, like we were talking about, and everything in between can be heard. Song called "Could Never Be Heaven" continues like the band's simple yet like brilliant use of like acoustic guitar. That song kind of reminded me a little bit of like something you would hear from like the 70s, like Simon and Garfunkel-esque, kind of like Hello Darkness.
Yeah.
I like that song a lot. Existential lyrics on there. Another 90s track on this album is called Out of Mim, I think. Out of Mana, sorry. Which has like a pretty heavy guitar riff driven by like the singing while playing some spacey lead guitars over top of it. And that song instrumentally, it reminded me a little bit of like the Red Hot Chili Peppers during their prime. Did you? So you didn't like when they got heavy?
I didn't get that at all. I didn't get Red Hot Chili Peppers at all.
I was trying to get like an idea what that song sounded like to me, but it sounded very 90s-esque.
Yeah, it did.
But I can't remember. Maybe not the Chili Peppers in their prime. Maybe someone else. But I'm thinking more of the lines of
I know what
John
you're saying.
Frusciante's guitaring. Yeah,
like late 90s Chili Peppers,
right.
not
Mother's
not
Milk.
like Give It Away Now.
Right. I'm not talking about like.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Californication era.
Yes. Thank
sure.
you. Tell me you did not like No Control then. That song's kind of like grungy.
That one was decent.
Yeah.
It was less upbeat than the second song, I feel like.
Right. So you want them to be like, if we're going to find a common ground, it's got to be like, heavy but really slow and not positive.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that song I really still can't get that song out of my head. No Control. It's kind of like got a like Nirvana-esque breakdown at the end of the song, because like the song will end and then like you hear like this kind of build up of like music playing until the song stops again. And actually there are quite a few moments on this album where a song will end before the track finishes and then a completely different instrumentation will play. And even though like the music is simple, you can't say that it's not experimental. I'll say with this album. How'd you feel about the last song, Batter Up, which is like 8-minute song? Because I know you like long songs and I don't, but what did you feel about that one?
I didn't realize it was 8 minutes, actually.
So you liked it then?
I think the last few tracks on the album were so similar that they kind of bleeded into one another.
Okay.
And honestly, I thought that song was more than one song.
So would you anything else like you want to comment on this record?
I don't have too much to comment. I think this record I felt the least strongly about out of the three we're going to review. Mm-hmm. Not that it's bad, it's just not... It didn't drive me to rage or love like the others.
Okay. So why don't you give your rating then first? We have nothing more to say.
I'm gonna say buy this. The album isn't breaking any new ground for them, I think. But it's a solid record, I'd say, from start to finish, and a good entry into the band's discography. While the album, like I said, it was a record that of the three, I feel least strongly about, but it's also the one that I think I'm most likely to revisit in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if one day when I run out of things to listen to and I'm feeling a certain way, I just want to hang out. I'm like, I haven't heard this album in a while. I'm going to put this on.
Okay.
I honestly, I don't want to say anything about the one we didn't review yet, but I think of the three, it is the best, so I'm going to say buy it.
All right. So he says buy this, and I think I have a lot to say, being that I'm in the old school brand new category. So obviously brand new will never return to the days of pop punk peppered through lyrics about bitter lyrics about wishing death upon ex-girlfriends, like on their debut album. But this album does have some callbacks to the second record that we talked about, and what they did on the album Daisy can be heard on here as well, minus like the jarring like noise rock. So, however, there are brief moments of post-hardcore on this record. For example, we didn't talk about this particular song, the track Same Logic / Teeth. Jesse is screaming over and over, "God damn, you look as lovely, but you sound so ugly." Hard fucking core. But for the most part, this album is a collection of low-key songs that either build up to a beautiful crescendo or maintain its tempo throughout. But also, unlike Daisy, the album flows perfectly from one track to the next. I believe one should read along to the lyrics to get the full emo experience while cutting your wrists at the same time. But musically, it's quite soothing.
It's not 2006 anymore.
You don't. Okay.
We can't make that joke anymore. It hasn't been funny in 10 years.
Okay.
I'm not saying it was never funny. I'm just saying you're dating yourself right now.
I know. My references are. I gotta make them more hip and current. Though some songs are so mellow they would be enjoyed better as background music, essentially there is not one bad song on this entire album, I would say. I didn't sound that song should have been taken off. Surprise, surprise. I say you should buy it. I think it's definitely, I agree with you. 100%.
And I think you said a mouthful. It's background music.
Yeah.
If you're going on a night drive, throw this album on and it'll be great. If you're reading a book, if you're cleaning the house, if you're
jerking off,
with the sound down on your TV.
Who doesn't jerk off to emo music?
While Anal Sluts 9 plays, then yeah, this is the album for you.
Yes. So so let's know what you think in the comments if you heard the brand new. Tell us what you think, and
brand new. Tell
us what you would rate it if you had a chance. Let them know what you think. This is going great, Drew. So far, 2 albums we agree 100% on, and my beer is done, and now this rum is just kicking in. So I will have a beautiful Sunday going to Sesame Place with the kids. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun. You're all hungover, and fucking Big Bird is coming around, and you're like, get the fuck out of here.
I might sock a guy,
Jarrell may get arrested at Sesame Place tomorrow.
It's not a family outing if you don't get arrested. Don't mind me, guys. I'm chewing. How you guys doing out there? You guys are a little quiet. There we go. Gotta wake up the crowd sometime. We have people in the stands that prod them, and they all cheer at simultaneously.
Yeah, it's less a crowd, more of a concentration camp.
Hey, it's not 1938 anymore. We can't joke about that kind of stuff. Burn. You ever did that as a kid?
You know what? You can tell a good podcast when there's just tons of dead air in between topics.
Right. All right. So without further ado, let's get to the final review of
tonight. Oh boy,
Prophets of Rage. Their
this fucking album.
All right. They're a politically charged rap rock supergroup that formed last year as an immediate reaction to Donald Trump's race for the presidency and his new current administration. The group consists of 3 members of Rage Against the Machine, guitarist Tom Morello.
To be fair, I think it was about Hillary as well.
They didn't protest the other convention, but
they had bigger fish to fry.
Yeah. So you got Tom Morello on guitar, Tim Comerford on bass, and drummer Brad Wilkins on obviously on drums, and on vocals they've enlisted Chuck D from Public Enemy and Be Real from Cypress Hill, because when you think of politics, I think of weed enthusiast Be Real.
To be fair, though, hardcore weed legalized guys in that band.
Right. But
that's politics.
But also,
right?
He hates cops, too, and cops are a hot button nowadays, so I thought it was fine to get him in a way.
Yeah, and Chuck D and Tom Morello hate cops, too, so.
Yeah. But
that's what they bonded over.
I wouldn't have... he was probably the last person I would have thought of being in this group, but... Whatever.
I think he's also the last person that they thought of to be in the group because he's barely even on the album.
Yeah. Well, it's true. It's true. We'll talk about that as well. So after performing a protest set at the Republican National Convention, Prophets of Rage went on a North American tour entitled Make America Rage Again, which I was able to attend thanks to free tickets from Ticketmaster.
Whoa.
Ticketmaster gave me free tickets. Why would I turn it down? So I'm like, all right, I'll go.
I'm a little jealous.
So it was kind of fun.
I think I gotta sign up for whatever mailing list you're on with Ticketmaster between free tickets to Prophets of Rage and half price tickets for Hatebreed.
Well, actually, there was a whole scandal that happened with Ticketmaster last summer, and they were like,
tickets, I didn't get shit out of that.
Yeah, so they said, so you get $2 tickets. So I looked through the whole summer, and I'm like, I guess I'll go to that. So I went to that show.
I guess I missed out because I looked through the whole summer and I completely missed that.
Yeah. So throughout the fall 2007 and 2017, they began to release singles and EPs until they dropped their debut album, self-titled album this month. Now, considering the three members of Rage have been playing together for over 20 years, we all know they will continue to mesh perfectly well, but the question is, do they mesh well with Chuck and Be Real's lyrics? While some tracks may come off a bit mediocre, there are some solid jams that are accompanied by some clever wordplay, I thought. What'd you think?
I have never, possibly ever, but certainly more recently, been let down more by an album than this album.
Oh, hey, go on.
First off, when you get together members of Rage Against the Machine, essentially the entirety of Rage Against the Machine, and members of Public Enemy, two members, by the way. Did you know that they had another guy from Public Enemy in there?
There's a DJ, right?
The DJ.
Yeah.
Why the fuck do they have a DJ?
Yeah.
Just for Tom Morello to challenge him to a scratch off in the middle of the album? Because I didn't hear a DJ fucking anywhere else on that album. It was just like chicka chicka chicka, and then Tom Morello was like bricka bricka bricka, and then that was it. That was the entirety. Why is he in this band? It doesn't make any fucking sense. But anyway, I digress.
I didn't mention him because I didn't think he was even there. But okay.
I digress.
Okay.
And then another member, two legendary rappers, and basically a legendary band that is firmly rooted in hip hop and hardcore punk. Why do they sound like Clutch?
Okay.
Did you get that?
I'm not familiar with Clutch's music, but go on.
They sounded almost identical to Clutch. When the first song came on, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of weird." And then Chuck D came in. I'm like, "Wait, is Chuck D even on this song?" Yeah, it's Chuck D. He was like kind of singing? When does Chuck D sing?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And why does he sound exactly like the singer from Clutch?
Okay, that's a good observation, I guess. Anything else?
Is Be Real just the hype man of this band?
Yeah, because I guess Flavor Flav is too busy.
Yeah, he just shows up like every other song and does like a line or two, and then it goes back to whatever he was doing, probably smoking weed.
Let me get back to my joint. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I'm not dead. You thought I was dead, but I'm not. Bye. That was just Be Real on every song.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's something I noticed. Rage Against the Machine clearly tailored their music, the three members, to whatever vocalist they're working with. They did that with Audioslave too. Okay. How when I heard it was members of Soundgarden and Rage Against the Machine, I got excited for that too, and that turned out fucking terrible as well. Okay. Rest in peace, Chris Cornell.
Okay.
It sounded nothing like Rage Against the Machine, and I feel like this sounds nothing like Rage Against the Machine too. I think that whatever rage there was in Rage Against the Machine was all from Zach. Okay. He was the thing that made Rage Against the Machine. And I didn't think so until I heard this album. Because there's no reason that one of the angriest, most, for lack of a better term, wokest rappers in the game shouldn't be able to take Zach's place and just have it sound like Rage Against the Machine, but it doesn't. He clearly was like, they clearly, made the music fit his voice, and it was a mistake because now you just sound like Clutch. Okay. And Clutch isn't something I want to fucking smash a window at Starbucks with a brick at the G20 summit. I don't want Clutch to be playing while that happens. Yeah. Okay? Rage Against the Machine, if Rage Against the Machine is playing, that would be appropriate. Prophets of Rage, no.
Okay. Well, we're gonna have
it's too chill.
This is gonna be an interesting review, you guys. So Drew already started off saying that he was let down by this album, but I'm gonna be honest and say that there are, like I said earlier, there are some gems on this album. Living Under the 110 addresses like homelessness, and they used that popular highway in Los Angeles as an example. Thought that was a good song. And speaking of poverty, Be Real actually says more than what Drew is actually coming off saying. He's not just
I think he only has like one or two verses on the entire album.
Okay, that's a lot for him.
Well, considering he was the
last person
main
to think
guy,
of, yeah.
Like I feel like he should, be pulling his weight a little more.
Yeah, but what weight are you getting from Be Real? He's not a political rapper like the other guy.
Have a couple of songs about legalizing weed on the album and then throw Be Real up there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, kick him out of the group.
Right. So Be Real actually, he speaks on like poverty on that track I'm talking about, as well as the division of the United States war, politics, and his verse on the song "Unfuck the World." I thought was definitely one of the highlight tracks on this album. It's got the hip hop drum beat and they're like grooving bass line. They're going back and forth sparring. Thought that was a good song. Of course, similar to Public Enemy, Chuck D's lyrics still remain militant and poetic. But Be Real, to me, I will give you this. Be Real sounds like he just read the cliche liberal handbook before writing his rhymes. He didn't sound like what he says doesn't have any like substance. Like you said, weight to what Chuck D can easily spar off the top of his head. But on the song Legalize Me, which is obviously a weed song, that's more up Be Real's alley because it gives him a chance to like name places where people smoke weed, stuff like that. So he does have a weed song, like you were saying. He has one.
More weed songs or GTFO.
Yeah. Now, I mentioned earlier, Tom, Tim, and Brad sync perfectly together, considering they've been playing for their longevity. But that has become both a blessing and a curse for them. Now, this is where what I mean by this. Like what Drew is saying, that this doesn't sound like Rage Against the Machine to him. This sounds exactly like Rage Against the Machine to me. Because they have a distinct sound. Like when you hear a song, you think to yourself, oh, this is Rage Against the Machine, until you hear whoever's singing on it. Like, oh, this is...
I think I disagree with you. I think that Tom Morello has a distinct guitar sound. Right. And I think that's what you're hearing.
He drives like the whole... Well, obviously...
I don't think the riffs themselves sound like Rage Against the Machine at all.
Are you sure?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Because when I first heard of Audioslave forming, like you mentioned, my biggest complaint about that band, it sounded like the singer of Soundgarden is singing with Rage Against the Machine. That song that started off that album, I forget the name of Someone to See, but...
Everybody forgot the name.
Yeah. I'm like, this sounds like Rage Against the Machine. Like, so it wasn't until Audioslave's like third album where they actually started to sound like a unique band. Yeah, they started to sound like they finally decided to like make something unique and different, not like we just put two bands together. So that's where I guess we disagree. I think every time I hear a Rage Against the Machine like a backing band, it sounds like Rage Against the Machine to me until someone sings. I'm like, oh, it's Rage Against the Machine, and someone else is singing the song.
I think Rage was tougher and burlier and kind of I don't know. I guess they were raging against the machine, right, for lack of a better. This just sounds like, I don't know. It's just to come out with a tour and call Make America Rage Again and talk about how this is the time that you like need to have this band back together so you can fight the system because the system is fucked, and then it's just like way more chill than Rage Against the Machine ever was.
I will give you this. I think we're agreeing, but we just aren't. We're taking different paths to the same thing. So
it's way more chill than Public Enemy ever was, too.
I 100% agree with you on both bands. This is not on the level of what Rage Against the Machine or Public Enemy have done, or even like Black Sunday by Cypress Hill is better. Like
Cypress Hill had tougher songs than anything on this album.
Now all you can describe of Rages to me is the guy from Public Enemy and the guy with the nasally voice from Cypress Hill are singing over Rage tracks. That's just, I still think it sounds like Rage songs, but and there's a couple songs here and there that I think they sound pretty good. And they had the same sound for so long that they need to change it up if they want to be called themselves a new band. So you can't expect this band to sound like Rage Against the Machine. Obviously, we want something different. But what me and Drew are agreeing on is that they don't have like the urgency and intensity that is needed from an album like this.
Personally, I want something. I think we're kind of. You're right. We are saying the same thing, but saying different things at the same time. Because me personally, I want the same sound from Rage Against the Machine, and I thought for sure that Chuck D would be a good replacement. Yeah, and that's what I thought they were going with, and they were not going with that.
I think the one song I want to ask you about where I think we might disagree because I want to hear something unique. I think we actually get that on the song Take Me Higher. Is the one time in this whole album where I thought it's like, all right, this is the most unique thing they've done where it doesn't exactly sound like a Rage Against the Machine or a guy singing for Rage Against the Machine throwaway tracks. And this track is like got like the Marachi guitar intro that leads into like a 70s like esque like funk rock groove, and Tom Morello really shines here. He's got a really good guitar solo in the middle of it. lyrically the song like raises awareness about either awareness or like paranoia about government drones. Be Real even borrows some of LL Cool J's lyrics and rhyme scheme from the song Mama Said Knock You Out on that song. That song I really liked.
There were a couple of standouts, and I think that was one of them.
Yeah. And then after that, we get to the next song called Strength in Numbers. And then it's like, all right, now we're back to the blatant Rage Against the Machine, like, knockoff tracks. So I need them to, like, focus more on, like, because Tom Morello, we know, is going to do amazing with his effect pedals and all that stuff. We know what we're getting into, but we've heard it before.
And I think what's the real tragedy here is I think that some of his best playing is on this album. I think some of his most technical playing, I mean, just straight playing, not like, sound effects and whatnot, but like just straight playing. I was kind of surprised at some of the riffs he pulled off, but they're in songs that are otherwise pretty forgettable.
Yeah, exactly. Now let me ask you this. This is what was bothering me about this whole album, and I thought this would have been a better idea. And I'll tell you in a second why I thought it. I think it would have been better if they, like, every song had a different singer, and they catered to that particular, like, singer songwriter sound. Like if they had like a folk singer and they had like more of a folky song, and they had like a metal singer and they had a metal song.
No, because then it would just be that Kesha album.
Okay, but I'm just saying if it was more, it would give the band a chance to be more diverse. Because the problem is, like, Limp Bizkit has fished the rap rock genre dry. So anyone who does it, there's nothing amazing about it anymore. So to come out with a rap rock album, it's you're already painting yourself in the corner of it sounding like dated.
Well, I'll tell you this: I think that it can be done. But
by 311, I guess. That's it. 311 is the only one that can do it.
311, save rap rock. I feel like any band that is a rap rock band for one reason or another is kind of shitty these days. Mm-hmm. I think the closest we can come to getting a rap rock revival is Stuck Mojo, but their singer is like a crazy, like, homophobe and racist. So
yeah,
their last record was pretty decent, but then, like, the lyrics are kind of iffy.
On an unrelated note, Funk Junkies are touring again. They got the original singer back, but whatever.
And then E-Town Concrete is still around, but
very true.
They're not putting out new music, really.
Yeah, they're just touring the same thing. So that's my opinion of that, because I honestly think that my other issue is this. When what we both are saying, when you get Rage Against the Machine and you get Public Enemy and you put them together, they have to be better than the sum of their parts. It's just mandatory.
Exactly.
And this is like, they just half-assed it, because
or at least as good as the sum of their parts.
Better, I think, because this goes back to fucking when.
Because I don't think that this was as good as either of those bands, or Cypress Hill.
Right. I go back to like the when Kanye West and Jay-Z did the album together. People were like. And people don't like that album because you guys half-assed it. You guys got to step it up and make your classic album and your classic album and put that together, and it's got to be like, twice as good. And this is where they fucked up on that album. Like, it's great that they're covering issues like police brutality and, like, Michigan's issues, but the songs aren't very catchy, nor do I feel any revolutionary act in myself when I hear them like I would hear, like, earlier stuff from both bands. So they have no potential to make an impact on society whatsoever, let alone me. But I have to, like, be honest and say there are some enjoyable songs on here. So I'm going to say it's okay album. You can download it, check it out, what you think. But to even go higher than that is you obviously never heard the two earlier bands even remotely say that this is better than that, or even that good, I should say. Drew, what do you think?
Ill-advised on every level.
Okay.
These sounds don't mesh well at all, and really there's no reason that they shouldn't mesh well. Be Real is borderline non-existent. Chuck D is barely rapping and is not nearly as hard as Zach or even earlier incarnations of himself. Why is the DJ here? I want to know, why the fuck is the DJ here?
And Rage Against the Machine pride themselves on an early album that they don't use any
exactly.
of that stuff. Yeah. So I'm like, why is he even here?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. And then, like, how am I supposed to make America Rage Again with reheated clutch and MC5 riffs? I don't feel anger. It feels forced. Mm-hmm. There's little to no hardcore punk influence, which is what made Rage Against the Machine great. I personally, fuck Prophets of Rage. Hashtag make Zach De La Rocha join Rage Against the Machine again. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. I'm giving this a skip this. Instead of listening to this album, go listen to Evil Empire or Fear of Black Planet instead.
Yeah, and ironically, even though that's over 20 years ago, it's still relevant. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
No point in this album existing. And the only involvement I would ever have with Prophets of Rage Again is if they came around and played live, and I could be promised that they would only be playing Public Enemy and Rage Against the Machine songs. All
right, so yeah, that's a good idea. Awesome. So I think I agree with your rating because you weren't pleased with the songs, but we agree at the same time they could have done better. So let us know what you think in the comments if you heard a new Public Enemy. If you heard a new Public Enemy.
If you heard a new Public Enemy song, tell me how it is, because apparently they've been putting out records still steadily.
Yeah.
I thought they had broken up.
So if you heard actually new Prophets of Rage album, let us know what you think in the comments, or send us an email and tell us what your rating would be of that. We'd appreciate your opinions and all that. Real quick before we get out of here, I actually did review the Public Enemy album last year, and it was horrible. I gave it the lowest rating ever because not only is Flavor Flav barely on it, but it's almost like a Chuck D solo album. And if they labeled it as that, I would have gave it a skip this. But since they want to call it Public Enemy, and Flavor Flav is hardly on it, I had no choice.
Hold up a sec.
To give it a lower rating.
You had the lowest rating ever on the most recent Public Enemy album, and you actually thought this album was going to be good.
Well, I thought with Rage Against the Machine it would help, you know. I'm sorry. With the three guys from Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, sweetheart. You were so naive.
And I saw them at the tour, and they played some Rage Against the Machine songs, so I thought they would have it in them. And this was before the...
Oh, baby.
And listen, this was before
I feel so bad for you.
This was before the election, so I thought once they won, I'm like, oh, man, it's going to be on now. And they just said, fuck it, we'll just do the same songs we were doing anyway and not put any more effort into it.
This world is going to eat you alive.
All right, well, live and learn, like Alanis Morissette said. You know. Oh, well.
That was weird.
It's old references. That's what I like to do. So I want to thank you guys listening to our show, and hopefully October is coming up. We will have a couple more episodes for you. We're going to do a Halloween episode as well. Because Drew is your favorite holiday, we will talk about horror stuff and have some top 10s or some countdowns or some of our favorite Halloween moments, as well as we'll be reviewing some sinister music for you as well. And as I promised you guys, or we talked about hinting earlier, if you guys like our TV show reviews, I'm thinking of doing a review for the Fuller House new season, and maybe Drew, if you want to get involved in this,
I'll give a review of the first season.
Well,
I watched all of the first season. I tried to watch the second season. I got halfway through the first episode, and then I said, "Why the fuck am I doing this to myself?"
We'll talk more about that off the air, but yeah, I agree in a way. So stay tuned for our next podcast, and thank you guys for coming out. And thanks for being such a quiet and respectable audience as well. So, anything else you want to say, Drew, before we get out of here? Any shows coming up that you're going to be going to?
Fuck Prophets of Rage. Bring back Rage Against the Machine.
Any shows you're going to in this month?
I think the only one I got coming up is...
It's Hatebreed, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
I think we're going to be doing a review and maybe a special episode of... Hybrid Radio.
Yeah,
day.
That's in December though, so we'll have things in between. I have actually reviews coming up to be posting on the.
We got all sorts of things. We got the best things.
We got the possible thing. We got the awesome things. Everything like that. So let's get out of here, you guys. Here's how you can get in touch with us. You basically go to our webpage, njhybridradio.net. And when it's actually up, you will be able to see what's going on there. It's coming up soon, I promise you. But also, you can see our shows if you go to our Facebook, facebook.com/NJHybridRadio. And when you find us, when you get on there, make sure you like us on Facebook. And also, you can go to our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, type in Hybrid Radio, and you'll find us on there. And also, we are on Twitter. If you follow us at NJHybrid Radio, and make sure you follow us on that. And also, forgot to mention, when you find our YouTube channel, make sure you click that subscribe button so we get more subscriptions. It would make me really happy. Until next time, this has been Jarrell. Have a good night.